Now in Springfield, some long-standing council members are not returning, and a new face emerges. Kelli Moriarty-Finn. She's a very charming person. I've just found out that we have a connection to a former friend of mine that I haven't seen in over 40 years. I went to high school with, which is very funny. It's a small world, isn't it, Kelli?
Small world. Indeed it is.
But here you are, and you want to fling yourself into the mixmaster known as Springfield politics. So
it's truly crazy days, right? So, yes,
yeah.
And Brad, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be with you and talk about my candidacy today. You know, back in April, when I threw my hat in the ring, of course, as you know, the field was much smaller than it stands today.
Oh, yeah.
As of right now, there are 12 people that are running for City Council at Large. So it's already been a spirited spring and early summer, and much of that will continue right through to the primary in September 19th.
See, what a charming way to put it. I think it's more of a feeding frenzy. It's really what's coming up. But
it kind of feels that way at times. It sure does.
But this is interesting, Kelli, because you're getting into this just a time where it starts to feel to me like the face of Springfield politics is changing a little bit. And it doesn't always do that. It's an interesting rhythm. Sometimes it just goes along for years and years with the same, you know, the same suspects, as the saying goes. But suddenly, some long-standing names are sort of saying, okay, cash me out, I'm done. You know, people like Timmy Rook and Buddy Williams and others are leaving the fold. And new blood, such as yourself, not a household name, is coming into the picture.
Yeah, for sure. It's a wonderful time to be in Springfield and to want to raise your level of participation and get involved in municipal government. Yeah. You know, you mentioned Councilors Rook and Williams. They had brand awareness for so long. They contributed so much to our city. But I think people really have had it with the status quo. You know, when I'm knocking on doors and I'm talking to people, Brad, I ask them a very simple question. Do you even know? Can you name 3 or 4 city councilors?
Yeah.
When was the last time you engaged your city councilor, and when was the last time they engaged you? Or was it only when they needed your vote? Mm-hmm. And that's a really interesting dialogue to have with people. I think coming out of the November election as well, so many people said, I've had it. I need to play a bigger role in government. And now, as you see, we've got this many people really participating in the process. And you know what that shows me? Democracy is working, which is a wonderful thing.
I think you're right. I think that's very well said. And you make a great point. And I think it's a common pitfall of so many of our brand name politicos, and I'm not going to, single anybody out because a lot of them are good friends of mine. I've known them for years. But the truth of the matter is they sort of become white noise for a long, long, long time, and then election time rolls around, and suddenly everybody is finding a pet project, a pet issue to launch themselves or to relaunch themselves. And I don't think people are that easily, tricked by that or fooled by that. And it sounds to me as though should you be fortunate and attain the office you're running for, that isn't going to be your story.
Well, I certainly hope not. That's certainly not the campaign I'm running. It's certainly not. If you look at my website and my Facebook page, I have tangible issues. You know, I say that Springfield has been my home by choice since 2002, and I say that with emphasis, by choice. And what's been bothersome to me, Brad, is that many have a perception of Springfield that's negative. And it's just not proper. Yeah. You know, we are a city facing public safety and education issues, but there are so many great facets of Springfield that never received the spotlight. You know, we have theater, we have symphony, museums that are accessible to everybody. Some of the largest employers in Western Mass call Springfield their home. So there is so much going for Springfield. So what we need to do is block and tackle what's not working. So fix what's broken, but continue to pump up and elevate and promote all that really is great about the city. So sure, I do have a number of issues on my platform that I'm very strongly supporting. Public safety, obviously, education, our partnership, and our collaboration with MGM. Yeah. All of those are very, very important to me. And as I'm knocking on doors and canvassing and meeting citizens, voters, they're expressing that those are concerns of theirs too, that we need to really focus on and bring a tighter lens on issues like that. So I am in it to shed that light, to really say we need to stir things up. We need to get guns and drugs off of our streets. We need to make sure that charter schools and every other school have the tools and the technology that they can empower their teachers and their students to become the best they can be. So there are so many issues out there that, yes, if I am fortunate enough to earn the respect and the votes that I need to have my butt in that chair, I promise I will deliver.
All right. Well, you put your finger on a couple of interesting things. And Springfield has long suffered from a perception versus reality issue. And the public safety matter is, you can't gloss it over. And the politicos who come out there and say, this is really much, it's not as bad as it seems and all the rest of it. Well, let's face it, it's there. And it is a problem that is embedded, not just in Springfield. And this is what the point that I always like to make, is that all of our northeastern cities have the same problem. It's the drugs and the gangs that are a scourge on the planet. And I've said, but you can't let this matter obscure all the positive things about this city. And you want people in the political framework of the city who have an awareness of this and want to champion it.
Without a doubt. I was very fortunate, Brad, to be appointed by my Ward 2 Councilor, Michael Fenton, to the Community Police Relations Committee that was formed by City Council President Ramos at the start of the year. And our remit with that committee is to go ward by ward and have conversations with people. These are open meetings. Everyone is invited to these meetings. And basically talk to people and say, what's working with the police? What's not? Have you ever had to call 911? Have you ever had to talk to a dispatcher? What's working in the city, and where do you think we need to make radical wholesale changes? One thing that resonates clearly, communities that we've implemented C3 or community policing in are thriving. Crime is being reduced as a result of C3 policing. That's just good old, Opie and Andy way back in the day, community policing, where at Mayberry, you knew the officers who would patrol through your neighborhood. They would stop and talk to you. They knew your parents. They knew how you played in the baseball game last night. That is happening in some of our at-risk neighborhoods in Springfield, and it's proving effective. I would love to see us, at a minimum, include C3 training as part of the curriculum for new cadets when they're entering the academy. Right now, it's a cost-prohibitive item to implement. I'd like us to see us get there eventually, but baby steps on a lot of these things. But people are happy that they know an officer that's going through their neighborhood. These guys are handing out business cards with phone numbers on them, and they're being used. People feel that they have a partnership. So C3 policing working hard, but you know what? This is one of those that takes a village issue. You need to be aware of your own surroundings. You need to work together as small communities to say, we are going to own our streets, we're taking them back. And I'm starting to hear that more and more when we're talking to people during those meetings. So I'm very hopeful about the future of public safety for Springfield, for sure.
Well, tell me, Kelli, you hear about this at the state and the municipal level, and unfortunately, it's becoming something of a hot-button issue. Where are you in the fracas about recreational marijuana in Springfield?
Well, personally, I will say I pass on grass, but
like that.
There's two components to this here. I would say that the voters spoke. They voted in favor of recreational marijuana use. It's like anything to me. If I want to have a glass of wine, I'm supposed to be the most responsible version of myself to not get behind a wheel after I've had more than the appropriate number of glasses of wine. So I'm saying to people who want to also do the same with recreational marijuana, I'm imploring you as a driver and as a citizen that you take the same caution I would when I've had a few glasses of wine. I'm going to choose maybe to stay put for the night or call a cab or call Uber. It is a hot button for sure. Certainly when you think about how an officer of the law might pull someone over and distinguish whether or not they are driving impaired, certainly we have those tests in place for alcohol. I don't know, quite honestly, where we stand with testing for marijuana, but I think we'll make sure that we get there. If we're not there, we'll get there very soon. And the other side of the coin is people who obviously need to use marijuana for medical and medicinal purposes. We've seen great advances in many diseases by people having access to marijuana, and I'm a big proponent of that for medical use as well.
Kelli Moriarty-Finn for Springfield City Council. It's been wonderful to get up close and personal with you in this conversation and find out a little bit more about a new face in Springfield politics, Kelli. And the best of luck to you at election time.
Well, Brad, I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Thank you very much.
Well, that does it for our program for today. I'm delighted you spent some time with us. I hope you will join us again tomorrow for another edition of the program we call Brad Shepard Today, a service of